Good morning, this is Antimicrobial Resistance Talks, or in short, AMR Talk, where we're bridging gaps and sharing solutions. This podcast is an initiative by the AMR Research and Work on Innovation and Sustainable Solutions Research, also known as the AMRWISE Research Group from University Malaya. Our aim is to increase awareness about antimicrobial resistance. Now, as we all know, antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, occurs when bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites evolve over time to resist the very effects of the medications used to treat them. But AMR isn't just a medical issue. It is a multifaceted problem that spans humans, animals, and even environmental health. This is where the One Health approach comes to play. One Health is a collaborative, multisectoral, and transdisciplinary strategy that recognizes the interconnectedness of humans, animals, and the environmental health. By understanding and addressing these links between these sectors, we can develop more effective solutions to combat AMR. In today's episode, we will explore how the One Health approach can address the multifaceted issue of antimicrobial resistance and highlight areas for future research, policy development, and implementation. To talk about this today, we have with us today Professor Dr. Subha Bhassu. She is currently an academician in the Institute of Biological Sciences, University Malaya, and has over 24 years of experience in teaching. With her experience in cell and evolutionary biology, she will shed light on her work with antimicrobial resistance. Good morning, Prof. Subha. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Vedika. I would like to express my gratitude for inviting me to this podcast.
We're happy to have you. So to help us understand the One Health approach and AMR to our listeners today, I would like to ask, how do humans, animals, and environmental health intersect when it comes to the spread and control of AMR?
Thank you, Vedika. The question is actually very pertaining. At the moment, I think the research that leads to One Health is mainly divided into sectors. And therefore, I felt in my research is when I started looking at it is a problem that relates to human, animals, and environment. Why is that so? Is over the 20 over years that in my research, I realized that a lot of the animals that initially I work on animals and aquatic animals, and I realized that they are forming resistance and the infection starts from viral bacteria, and currently in this age is parasites and fungi. And I could see that then I got a grant on environment, and I started looking at the incidence of AMR bacteria through eDNA, using the latest technology, and at the same time subculturing of the bacteria and so on. And I realized that I got a shock of my life when I see the incidence of AMR bacteria in the environment and in food. And now I could see the incidence of AMR happening within the hospital ecosystem. So if we need to tackle AMR spread, I think we have to work in synergy, in collaboration, where we need to do what we call a predictive tracing or where these bacteria are coming from. And if we don't curb that, I think, right? The recent, they anticipate more than millions will be dying of AMR resistance. This is something, an initiative is not just handled by one person, one entity. It should be handled by a lot of groups, and with effective collaborations between these groups, we will be able to maybe minimize AMR resistance spread, and also tackle what are the policies and and initiatives that we can do to tackle this. So when we talk about One Health related to AMR, I think first thing, your podcast is really one of the ways to give awareness to people, but at the same time give awareness to different faculties to work on the same program. It is very important. And if we don't tackle this from now, then we are in liability in future, because then people will ask, why didn't we do anything about it? So that is one of the reasons I shifted my research looking at this. And I hope to work more with more people. And through this podcast, there'll be an initiative within the university and between universities and between countries. It's already there, but we have to take it up.
Most definitely. Now, I would just like to elaborate on what Prof. Subha mentioned. It was in fact predicted that 10 million people deaths would be related to AMR by the year 2050. And this, in fact, is a very transdisciplinary approach that we need to look at when solving the issue. Now, as you mentioned, the animals that you worked with, they had a lot of disease spread. And to treat that, for example, you would have to use antibiotics in animals. What kind of impact would this develop in the spread of AMR, not just to animals, but also to the human population?
Okay, the use of antibiotics is not permitted by our government. But however, so they are actually labeled in a way that the farmers not knowingly are administrating antibiotics. So antibiotics is actually banned. Department of Veterinary, Department of Fisheries, every department when it comes to food, they have banned this use of antibiotics. However, so things are being labeled, and is labeled as immunostimulants, antimicrobials, which is not mentioned is an antibiotic. So they are being sold by this third party, and the farmers are actually using it. Unknowingly, the whole ecosystem, we talk about Malaysia, but we also can talk about Thailand and so on. Everybody is unknowingly using antibiotics with a different label. Only when we talk among each other and we notice that there could be antibiotics, so we did a survey by collaboration, because Department of Vet, under Animal Veterinarian, they have done a survey. We did a survey. I have a PhD student who look at the use of antibiotics in shrimp farms. And when we started that, the first hypothesis, they said, no, it's not allowed. The Department of Fisheries said we don't encourage. And we got the Department of Fisheries staff to do the PhD. So she could go to the farms and actually interview. And we took samples from the shrimp, from the soil, and also from the water. And what we found out, there's more than 25 AMR bacteria in the system. So that's worrying us. And we only took the 3 top bacteria, E. coli, Streptococcus, and Salmonella, because it's related to gut. And some of the bacteria are actually related to medical problem. So now we are actually talking to medical groups to take it up, because the bacteria we have, the isolates that we have, the second hypothesis is it harming the human? Right? So that is a question. You can find AMR bacteria in the ecosystem, and is it harming the humans? So now we are checking one of the bacteria that worried us is Klebsiella pneumonia, and we noticed that the incidence of people suffering from this bacteria infection is increased on rice. And we also asked another question, is this Klebsiella pneumonia found in the environment? We went on further. We didn't have much funding. So we did next generation profiling, pathogen modeling profiling, and we found the incidence, one of the top pathogens are the Klebsiella pneumonia in the water system, which the people are using it. So this is worrying us, and we are now trying to people will always counter us back, saying that is in the environment. How sure are you? They want evidence-based. So the work that we did with the shrimp, because shrimp is something that is very closely that people eat in sushi and things like that, is eaten raw. So we wanted to use that as a case study. But the other groups will work on chickens and so on. So everyone is finding AMR bacteria there. So now the second question is it affecting humans? Clinically, is it affecting humans? So we are now collaborating. I'm collaborating with medical faculty, and also other groups are collaborating with respective medical faculty just to test the hypothesis that the bacteria that we get, is it affecting human cell lines? And the recent one, we don't limit ourselves to bacteria only. We also look at fungus, parasites, viruses. Some of it is already showing clinical pathogenicity in the human cell line. So research will take time. Next thing is publication. But things of this information, we need to talk to people and also collaborate with people. And the more people start working in AMR research, I think that will be a significant impact in our raising awareness on AMR. So I do that. I talk to a lot of people. It is not something that you want to just, this is what I'm going to be famous in. No. For me, I believe that the more people we work on, the more awareness in collaboration, we should be able to put in a significant impact in this research. And also awareness, that's why I got excited when you told me you're raising awareness in this. So that is the vision. I've already joined the focus group for AMR. There's also a big discussion on AMR awareness in Indonesia. One Health. I've followed their summer programs, and this is spearheaded by the German group, the Netherlands, because you know why? Europe is dependent on all food systems is coming from Asia. Animal products are coming from Asia. So they are very worried. What they are eating is dictated by AMR persistence in the system. So they are making everybody down the ground to be aware of AMR. So we are doing it. One of my students is doing it for the sake of farmers, consumers. So for them, they might not know they're not using antibiotics because the use of antibiotics is banned in Malaysia. In
They
all
wouldn't
sectors,
even know.
They wouldn't know. You give them special vitamins, special immunostimulants. Pity them. The stakeholders are being cheated with the wrong labeling. We really pity them. If you take the solutions and you test, they are antibiotics. So a lot of in the whole value chain for food safety has to be relooked at. A recent conversation we had with Institute Kimia, because they actually look at standards of food safety. I told them we have to do something, because if we don't do this, then we will be in trouble. So we are trying, getting more people involved. So far, I've seen the physics engineering group. They have developed from they have developed plasma ion treatment, and they're trying to make sure that food goes through this device. Everything is killed. So I can see that transdisciplinary research allows an innovation approach to tackle AMR.
Yeah, I agree. There needs to be a shift in perspective, that it's not just a researcher's problem, especially in microbiology.
Correct.
Like you mentioned, the physician, from the physics department, chemistry department, and even education for farmers, education to consumers, that you are involved too. You are consuming the food. There definitely needs to be a chain of awareness among, and everybody holds responsibility. I agree.
So when they did the survey on around 150 farmers, the survey showed their knowledge in AMR is like very little. And therefore, you can see there is another research through from education and also from like this kind of awareness program. More people will tend to understand and be aware, because at the moment our food industry is only accept aquatic is being exported.
I see.
We are all in deficit, deficit. But what we notice is food like poultry and cattle is all coming from different areas of the world. And what if that is also contaminated with antibiotics? And we don't know. I think there must be stringent collaboration to ensure that the food that we get, it is safe to be consumed. The environment we live in is also safe. The water we drink is also safe.
Yeah.
A lot of things is involved, no? So then only when you see the patients coming in with problems, medical problems, the doctors can't do much, no?
Yeah.
Right?
We all want to prevent a
it's
second
better
pandemic.
So ideally, the God has chosen social and preventive medicine as the venue. And therefore, it is our social responsibility to ensure this is prevented.
Right. Okay, thank you for that, Prof. Subha. Now, for those of you who don't know, Prof. Subha has carried out a lot of research in the field of gut microbiota and food safety as well. Now, gut microbiota, it basically is a complex community of microorganisms that reside in our digestive system, and not just our digestive system, animals as well, which means that too plays a significant role in health and disease spread. Food safety, on the other hand, is also a very critical issue in public health, and it intersects with AMR, One Health, and also gut microbiota. In regard to that, Prof, how does the diversity and the composition of the gut microbiota in humans and animals, how does that impact the transmission and development of AMR genes?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. My degree is biomedical science.
Okay.
But somehow I ended up in Faculty of Science.
We're glad you did.
And in UM because of the history. And of course, when people see, oh, you're working on this animal. So my biological model was shrimp. And I started off with that question because it was very personally connected, where my daughter had a gut microbiome dysbiosis. And it led to inflammation, and she was not feeling well. So when I was speaking to the experts from the medical faculty, and then I met Prof. Suresh. I don't know whether you know him. And he says, you are what you eat, and your gut microbiome will be the solution. So therefore, I started my first research in 2018-19 on using shrimp as a biological model, and I came with a paradigm that, hey guys, because shrimp is getting infected with more than 20 pathogens, and they are they don't have adaptive immune system, so they die easily.
Oh, okay.
So that was a biological model, and I told a story using the shrimp. And 2-3 publications came out with a very little funding, no, believe it or not. Just with 5,000, I told the story of how gut microbiome affects the health of a shrimp. Later, when I got that work published, a lot of people asked me to give a talk. And that's when COVID hit. And when COVID hit, my talks went online. And then I wrote a few book chapters. And I emphasized the importance of the gut microbiome as the potential solution to ensure the human health. Then we worked on humans, gut microbiome of the humans, and we realized that for one to reach a position where you are considered healthy, is all depends on your gut system, the gut microbiome system. So what we did is we used gut metagenome and looked at the diversity of the bacteria. At the same time, we also relate to the functional profiles of the immune system and how it activates the health of the human body. Wow, we noticed that, sometimes when a patient comes in and says that I have this condition of inflammation, you just focus on the gut microbiome. You could see that you can reverse the whole process. And this is a big thing now in research. Even in Netflix, they have actually talked about that, where there's a documentary. They said, how do you reverse your condition? You can reverse your condition on inflammation, aging, your health per se, by changing the bacterial diversity in your gut. So this very important, powerful correlation that a lot of researchers are actually looking at it. And I could say, and from the recent work we see, we believe that we actually the whole group, it's a transdisciplinary research, involved medical science and computer science, where we came up with a predictive model that tells you before you get gut carcinoma, colon cancer, we can tell you whether you are in stage 1 or stage 2, and how do we reverse back, so the predictive modeling actually gives you, this is the list of the bacteria that tells you you're healthy. This is the list of bacteria that you are going into a disease-prone condition. So we managed to get that results under our transdisciplinary grant, and we hope to get further funding. And at the moment we are trying. We wrote grants to Ministry of Science and so on. But the algorithm is already 90% accurate. The only limitation factor is the number of samples. So we are still working on it. The whole group, which is led by Prof, said, we just have to try, try to get as many samples to prove the model is correct, because you have to get 99% accuracy. So I've given talks trying to get international collaboration on this. Apparently in India, they already have 10,000 samples. Qatar has 10,000 samples. And we have to get some amount of money to work with them, right? We can't be expecting money from them. So we are hoping to instill that international collaboration, with the fact that we could postulate that in future, from a fecal sample can tell you whether you're healthy or not. So this is not an examination that has been established. Am I right?
Yeah.
You go there, people take fever, flu, check your vital signs. You realize that if your gut microbiome is not healthy, everything goes haywire. So from the fecal bacterial diversity is not established yet. We hope to establish that. We hope to be a marker. So it's a non-invasive sampling. And we hope that the patients, especially older patients, they can actually have a system where they can just send the fecal through through the post. And there is companies who are already embarking on it. So there's a company which is a startup. They have like 20,000 fecal samples of cancer patients. And they are also struggling to get grant because it's something new, something that need to be established. So we hope by more awareness that there is a different kind of a way to look at it. And it's a non-invasive kind of sampling. And that will tell you how healthy one can be. I'm sure you are going to do a survey. You were saying that you're going to do a survey for undergraduate students.
Yeah.
We realized that you can actually relate the gut microbiome diversity to the status of their mental health.
I see.
So nowadays there's an issue, right? People are having anxiety. Yeah. People are having, even that is related to that. So much is related to the gut microbiome.
You really are what you eat.
Yes, you really are what you eat.
That's definitely worth exploring.
Yeah, there's a lot to explore. I think many people are working on that factor.
And I think this is important definitely in this day and age because there's so many food, Instagram popularity, to go here, to go there without realizing, are we actually consuming
the right food?
The right food, safe food.
Yeah, right, safe food, whether they eat the sugary food.
Yeah.
And we have to tackle this from a very young age. The whole system of food, nutrition, it depends on what you eat. And I realized that my daughter, which I said was suffering, she wasn't eating well. She was eating all the junk food. And that also could have created a dysbiosis for that. So now a proper nutrition plan is very important. So when you embark on with the undergraduate students, you have to show the relations of how important gut microbiome also plays in.
Definitely.
And of course, if you are aware what you eat, AMR will reduce. Right. Am I right?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is interconnected, no? A lot of it is in the form of preventive. It's not like what do we do to treat? It's about prevention. So we need to do awareness to prevent this condition to happen in form of any other illnesses that is related to AMR. So we go back to AMR. So sometimes we say humans are the most intelligent system in this world, but now we are losing to virus, bacteria, and parasites. And my God, because I was doing a research where I was trying to discover all this. And one day I was sitting down and said, why is that? We are losing to all this fear. People are becoming more fearful. But I think the humans are the most intelligent people. We should not fear. We should be aware. We should go back to how we evolved. Yeah. So being a geneticist and molecular evolution biologist, I said, I want to defy that, rather than we just say, oh, the rise of AMR, rise of this. I say, okay, how do we now push it back? We have to change. And for we to change, we have to be aware of what we eat and where is the food coming from. What's the safety issues? If we are aware in all aspects, we should be able to tackle AMR, and we should be advocates to ensure we all have families, right? From our children to our parents. And our parents are regarded like children because they are immunocompromised, they're getting old, aging is a factor. So we have to aware the nutrition plan for the whole system in our family, neighborhood, in the country, has to be in a form that it is safe from antimicrobial resistant incidents. If not, we cannot tackle this. The global deaths is going to increase and increase. We cannot tackle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's very important.
One of our previous speakers also, they credited, even though we are such intelligent beings, we really have to credit the bacteria and all, because they are starting to get smarter than us.
Yeah.
They are starting to resist the very antibiotics, and so we really need to, I think prevention is the key.
There is this thing called survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
So every organism are engineered to survive. So what is happening now, the ecosystem is becoming very different. The climatic change issues and things like that. So it's driving every organism to survive. Only the fittest survive. So bacteria we cannot regard bacteria as a pathogen. We have to derive bacteria as a part of our ecosystem. So if they are becoming resistant, whose fault is that? It's us, because we are the one who's throwing antibiotics to them. And therefore, they evolve, because first we are using antibiotics to kill them. And they don't want to die, they want to survive. So they become resistant. We call it the horizontal gene transfer mechanism, no? You want to survive, okay? So bacteria wants to survive. They're the smartest thing. Even our mitochondrial, the ancestral root is bacteria. Am I right?
Yeah.
The mitochondrial gene is said to, it comes from the oldest form of bacteria. So bacteria is a very powerful system that is indicating the global health. Am I right?
Yeah.
So it is trying to survive. So what about us? So we need to not see them as enemies. We have to review back the ecosystem again and ensure that, safety, in the sense that we make sure that we should eradicate the mechanism of fear. So after a certain time, the bacteria will slow down, and you could see natural selection, where the good bacteria will go on rise, the AMR bacteria will go down. It's a system. So it is about choosing the right system. You have to tackle it from a natural selection perspective.
That's very true.
Rather than saying, oh my God, this is happening, what do we do? We have to tackle it very systematically.
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah. That's why you see in countries like Europe, Netherlands, Denmark, they shifted the whole process. They go into sustainable farming, sustainable ecosystem. They know exactly where the food is coming from. They know exactly where the water is coming from. They ensure everything is done with integrity, ethically. We should have that kind of mind. Then we won't live in fear.
I think the mindset is definitely something that needs a change in a lot of our communities.
Correct. Yeah, because if you ask people, where did this food? I don't care. The food is cheap. That's it. We have to change people's mindset to start being ethically and having conscious, because we are supposed to be a very evolved species, right? So I always believe advocating awareness and then getting people to come into the project with selfless, have a selfless attitude towards ensuring things are safe, how do we do it, and so on. So in any way, one person can make this much of differences, but if you have many people, wow. And I think we being the UM is being one of the top universities, we have excellent group of people from the academics, support staff, students, and so on. With the right advocation and right attitude, we can actually also be one of the universities that really tackle AMR globally.
Yeah.
Right? I believe so. That's why you got a grant on this.
Okay. Well, yes, I think one of the major research gaps is awareness. Are there any other research gaps that you think exist when it links AMR use to animals and the environmental health?
I think one way to look at things is there's a lot of innovations being researched by a lot of different groups. But in the spite of getting that patent out or the device out, there must be a spirit of ensuring safety and safe environment. I think that has to be advocated, So rather than you're waiting for one device to be commercialized, by the time the commercialization process will take 5 years to 10 years. I mean, when would the food safety be always addressed? So it's very important that whatever innovation a researcher does, there is mechanisms to get it across. And we have to get it across systematically. So if it's environment, you work with Ministry of Science and Environment. If it's food, Ministry of Agriculture. that mechanism has to be done. And the advocacy of working in collaboratively, working with each other should also be maintained. Sometimes some of the researchers get carried away with, okay, I need to commercialize, it's part of my KPI. Sometimes I tell them, in the spirit of goodness, sometimes you let go certain things, right? You can also have a prototype that is for the community, and there's a prototype for the industry. There's a prototype for this, So when one does certain intervention in innovation, always remember that you keep 10% for your own growth, but you also have to think for the community. So that's why nowadays in our research, they say, what is your community-based research? Because if you don't have that mindset, I think it's going to be hard. But we have to address that in a sense when it comes to research and innovation. You have to address people, because even phone, telephone. Let's take an example of telephone. You're so afraid of your invention which be taken away, so you put it as trade secret. But if you see, the knowledge of telecommunication has been known. Everybody has patented it. Now you have Samsung doing phones, you have Honor Malaysian doing phones. Still there is a consumer demand, right? So why not we also do that? So if you have innovation, that you have a sensor technology to detect AMR bacteria, you're waiting for a company to take up, that will take another few years. But if you go and talk to the industries and say, hey, we developed this sensor, but we have generation 1, generation 2, generation 3. Could you test this? So when you work closely and get it out to the market, your primary objective is safety for the consumers. That's how I established mine. I had a diagnostic sensor for shrimps, viral sensor. You know what I did? Every time they have markets selling, udang, the shrimps that is 5 ringgit on a sun, I send people, go and get buy. The reason one sells the shrimp at a very cheap price is because the shrimp died in the pond. So they quickly harvest it and sells it in Pasar Malam. So I tell them independently, I did like 5 different places, all had virus. You see so I use my sensor to create that awareness. Then we write in this one, we tell people, okay guys, don't go and buy cheap prawns, and I did that just of my goodwill, because how to do it. Then I realized I couldn't do it. My lab, my students have to do it. We license it to a company. The company say, we need to survive. But the director of the company was so goodwill. I said, okay, I'll send a sample, but I'll pay for it. For my consultation fees. I use my consultation fee to validate my hypothesis. I didn't take it to use it for my, normally people take consultation fee for their own.
Yeah.
I didn't. My consultation fee is used to validate all. Shrimp balls has virus. I told this to everybody. I said, hey guys, you know what you all are doing? Sometimes you cook shrimp balls.
Yeah.
You put in, if you're not careful, it has. So with that kind of determination, when it comes to innovation and commercialization, not everybody has it. So you have to say that, okay, I have to give a certain percentage for me to become rich, a certain percentage for community, certain percentage for nation, awareness. So when you do that, indirectly you are doing something for the country, for the love of the nation, for the love of the people. Do you not agree?
Yes, I really love your way of your thinking, because usually it's a very methodological process. Like, I have to do this, okay, patent it, and then industry, okay, my thing is done, my job is done. I'm not responsible anymore. Yeah. So it
doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Because when you eat something, the guy who's buying, when you go to the Pasar Malam, you see all these people coming and buying, rush of buying. But my first question, do you know it's safe or not? Where is it coming from? So my children used to say, Ma, you sound like, CSI agent. You want to do a traceability study. I wrote grants on this and I got some grants on this. But grants on this needs to go further, no? It needs to be done. But my advocating started, I gave talks in Malaysia, I gave talks in Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, India. Now the license is given to the company, and they are doing all this now. So they are getting business, which is not related to me because I license it.
Right.
But my burden is reduced. But India has followed our model.
Wow.
China has followed our model. Of course, they can come up with their own intervention, their own strategies. They can become your competitor. So what? As long as my belief is, if you want to become a millionaire, you will become. Nobody can stop you. But if you feel that you want to do goodness, that is your doing. So my personal, people can say, Prof, you are not that rich. You didn't set up a company and become rich. For me, my happiness is to serve so that when I reach one point of time in life, I did something. I know exactly what's happening. So that is how I, even AMR, when you asked me, I said, yeah, sure. I was a bit nervous. I said, my God, now people say, why are you working in AMR? I said, no, I'm working on AMR because I'm a geneticist. And being trained at the biomedical science, I look at systems. And it's an ecosystem. Human is the last, So I would like to investigate based on evolution, ecological modeling, and things like that. What is happening. So that relates at the end to human. So I use things as a biological model. So I've done with virus, I've done with bacteria. Now currently doing parasites and fungi. But I work closely with people in the parasitology department, with the mycologists. They are experts on this region. So that's how but the significance that bring all together is AMR related to gut microbiome, how is it affecting, and things like that.
So I just wanted to say that with all this being done, do you see a future with One Health in the battle against AMR?
One Health is already there. One Health is being advocated by many people, even in UM and even across. Everybody says I'm doing One Health. I'm the expert in One Health. I wouldn't say that. I would say that I'm giving back with my expertise into the One Health to address the global health. You are giving your expertise by creating awareness through your podcast. I think if everybody holistically, this world is a part of the universe. So I think if you want to say One Health is a big thing, I said One Health is supposed to be in your blood system. You want to be healthy, right? And you want to make sure your environment is healthy, your ecosystem is healthy, people you work with is healthy. Everything should be a healthy working relationship. So in that case, you shouldn't say that is it important. It's supposed to be in our blood to ensure that the whole One Health concept is being advocated to ensure that we are addressing to be healthy, a healthy ecosystem.
Right.
So in terms of food, in terms of your thinking, in terms of what you eat, it has to be addressed in that way. Don't you agree?
Yes, very much so. So thank you for that, Prof. Subha. And last but not least, what is one message you would like to give our audience today?
I think, to me, whatever, we are talking about AMR resistance. AMR-resistant bacteria are now in our ecosystem, and therefore it is imperative that we address this from a One Health perspective, and we all have to do a bit of what we can do towards that. So if we have that determination and passion, it wouldn't be a challenge rather than an achievement of tackling this issue. And hopefully from current to now with this podcast, people will go back and say, oh, I have to ensure this approach is taken holistically by everyone. So that's all.
All right. Thank you so much. I think our listeners will have a very refreshing perspective, and hopefully it generates a lot of questions for you. Is that really consumable? Should I know the background of this? And yeah, I think it's great to have questions and great to do your own research. And I hope this podcast has helped you in that way. With that, I'm your host, Vedika Bhatt. This is the AMRWISE podcast series brought to you by University Malaya. This podcast series was created by Prof. Sashila Ponampalavanar, an ID physician, Associate Professor Dr. Cindy Tay, a microbiologist in University Malaya, and me, myself, Vedika. To learn more about us, please visit our website mentioned below. This recording of the podcast was supported by the Department of Social and Preventative Medicine, University Malaya. Thank you for listening. Please join us and stay tuned for our next podcast. This podcast was supported by the Foundation to Prevent Antibiotic Resistance. Till next time, bye-bye.